Nigby. Looking through eBay for various things, this came up in my searches. It's an XFort Colossus, and it struck me as interesting because it was shown in the advert with just this side of the key being advertised. And I thought, oh, that's interesting. It's probably cheap. Well, it definitely was cheap, but it's a slider only lock. I thought that's interesting. I might get one of those just to see what it's all about. So I ordered one just to have a look at. It's not an expensive lock, but even so, I managed to get the price down by haggling with the guy on eBay. And when it arrived, I found out that it wasn't just a slider. It was a dimple slider combination. Unusually, though, the dimple is on one side and then the slider track is on the other side. So that makes the one of the big advantages of dimple locks, that the key is totally reversible. It spoils that because it's no longer reversible. It'll only go in one way. It's got to be the right way up, so there's a piece of wood in there that makes that happen. There is a nice groove in the bottom of that, I suppose, that you'll remember which way up the key is, so if you're trying to open your front door in the dark, you at least know. So I thought I'd buy it just to do a little bit of a review on it, and hopefully a picking video. I've got a picking. I have managed to get it picked. It wasn't without its complications. What I ended up having to do, it's got a lot of things going for it in terms of a lock for a front door. It's got a massive piece of steel in here as anti-stap. Now I've taken that out and cut it in half in order to get at the front half and gut it and work out what to do in terms of picking it. It's got one of these fancy clutched mechanisms with these two detents here. That if it is snapped, isolate the cam, stop the front door from opening, and you know it's got a nice, very obvious locked indicating thumb turn, and the chroming on it's all quite good. What I'll do, I'll actually just take these bolts out. I need to do one of them. Keep everything together for the time being. Okay, I was hoping to actually let you see it in action. We can do it on this side. So if the lock was snapped, those detents fire into that. So even if this portion of the lock came out, it was snapped out, there's still nothing you can do. The cam won't operate. So in terms of all that this bit is actually quite good. You can see the big lump of steel there that acts as the anti-snap, and the whole thing is sort of clutched and works quite nicely. However, this side of it, in terms of the actual locking mechanism, is pretty dire. It's a bit like I think Yale Superior, the dimple slider combination. There's 6 top pins and 5 sliders. The top pins pick quite easily. They're all standard pins, quite easily but quite nastily. As you can see, there's a lot of play in that core, and this is scratching up and marking up already just from the bit that I've had. I'll give you a close look down that keyway. You can see that it's all quite open with the 5 sliders down this left hand side here. In terms of something to use on your front door, I think it's pretty secure. All of this cam mechanism goes to the 3-star. That's the TS007 standard on there. How long the actual lock would last in terms of this locking part of it is anybody's guess, because it is pretty bad, and it was that badness that caused me the problems with picking. Anyway, so coming up is my pick and gut of this. As I say at the end, I am claiming a world's first pick on this. It's not a high security lock, but it's just another aspect of lock sport that keeps you interested. is buying some junky stuff like this. Anyway, I hope you find the review helpful for somebody and the picking interesting. Thanks a lot for watching. Coming up now, I'll splice into the pick and gut section. Okay, let's put some focus on. So quick look at that key again. There's the dimple side, and that's the slider side. Let's just put it in there, give it a spin over, so working as good as this lot works. So what I found is because of the lack of warding in this, what I have to do is tension on the sliders over on this side, just on this piece of warding, and then I'll have to change over and tension from the other side to after I've picked the top pins to get the sliders. So let's get going. So down to the back. Okay, they're all standard pins. Okay, and that gives us the full set that we need to show that we're on the sliders only. Now at this point, just double check that pin one. Yeah, those. At this point, because I'm blocking the sliders, I have to change over to a different tension wrench. I'll slide this down into this side, and I'm actually tensioning off the pins, the top pins. With that can come out. That keeps us in the full set. Hopefully, while I turn that back to an angle, I can get at stuff. So what I've had to do is make or adapt this. I made this to pick the XP1, and I've had to thin it down even more to get in and get to these sliders. So let's just have a feel at those now. So nothing on one. Okay, and there we go. That's got it picked. So, there you go. Quite clearly picked, as you can see. So we can lock this up because we've got the key, and take some of the focus off. So let's give this a gut in. I've already loosened this C-clip. So even though it's a cheap nasty lock, I'm still going to use a shim because it's got this tailpiece extender on the back. And as normal, just remember to catch the sidebar underneath there. sidebar is just a solid piece of metal. I'll show you all the individual parts in a second. So keeping the key in, and just drop these pins out. And it's this point, once I'd got it taken apart, I realised just how nasty it was inside. The pins are really marked up already. Everything just seems really soft. You've got this horrible sort of dimple cast look to the core. You can see a right moulding mark there. I think this is part of what leads to the problems of picking it. It's just real poor quality. And then just taking the key out, those sliders will come out. I'll take these out now. Let's try changing tweezers. One. Okay, now I'm going to leave all the sidebar, the slider springs in there, but you can see them all in place in there, and hopefully that way, but you can certainly see them through the sidebar window. So a quick look around the core, just keeping a finger to cover that. So nothing special about the core whatsoever. And just that massive big hole through the centre, and not that they're anything special to look at, but let's take the top pins out as well. And every single one is a standard, and I can only think it's for looks that they had the brass pins to go with the brass core. These are the only thing that seem remotely like there's any quality to it, and we'll just drop all those springs out as well. Okay, so that's the XFort Colossus. I can give you a bit of a look at these sliders. As I say, they do seem very soft. And it was these that caused me the problem, and there's no reason for it to be. The gate is absolutely huge and wide. It's chamfered to slip in there, but just the softness of the core maybe, or whatever, everything was binding up really tight, but they're all the same, no false gates, but quite a big variance on the slider track. You really got to move each one alternately either side, and then you've got the sidebar, which is just a solid piece of metal that fits in it the opposite way. Okay, so I'm claiming a world's first pick on the XFort Colossus. Not exactly high security, but there you go, it's interesting.